Hey guys, so this book came out today, as of me posting this, called Six Wakes by Mur Lafferty. This is a murder mystery with clones set in space, with a cast of characters full of secrets, lost memories, and unknown motives. It's a lot of fun, really hard to put down, both tragic and humorous, and an inventive take on everything it covers: clones, murder mysteries, generation ships, AI, and revenge. We begin this book with a list of codicils, in this context basically laws, surrounding what can and can't be done with clones, and this immediately sets the tone for how cloning works in this distant future of our world, with things like it is unlawful to create more than one clone of a person at a time. Each clone is one person. Cloning will be used for longevity of life, not for multiplication. If a clone is multiplied by their own hands or others, the most recent clone has claim to that identity. Also, the shells a clone leaves behind must be disposed of quickly, hygienically, and without ceremony or ritual, amongst other things. It's a strict code that all must follow, including those on the ship that this takes place on, the Dormier. This is a generation ship set out just a couple decades ago towards Tau Ceti and its orbiting planet Artemis. Hibernating within the ship are thousands of humans. The 6 clones that make up its only around-the-clock crew wake up in the ship's cloning bay, surrounded by blood and the murdered bodies of their previous iterations. Each clone in this future also has an individualized mind map, an imprint of who they are, everything they know, all of their memories, which is given to each new clone of a person and can be updated periodically. When the crew wakes up, however, their mind maps and memories are lacking. The dead and murdered versions of themselves are much older than they remember being. They've lost 25 years of time and have absolutely no idea what series of events have led to what they've got to deal with now. There's poison, stab wounds, one of them seems to have hanged himself, and the only previous clone still living is the captain's, who's seemingly been put into a coma a few days before all of this happened. Amidst the not-so-spacious landscape of a mostly sleeping generation ship, these 6 must figure out what happened and why, which one of them is a murderer, and what to do about that now that they've all been cloned again. This is such a fast-paced read, suspenseful, smartly plotted, and filled with characters that have so much to hide from each other for so many different reasons. Getting to know them all was one of the best things about this. We spend a bit of time with each of them, and so they all get some decent screen time with which they are developed. This does kind of spread them a little bit thin, as the writing must focus on each of them, the plot, the foreshadowing, etc. So they're not all as fleshed out as they could be if we followed any one of them exclusively, but for how quick this book goes by, it's impressive how invested I felt in these 6 people and their different stories. There's Maria Arena. She's basically the main character, as we spend the most time with her. She holds the ship's least prestigious job, which basically boils down to janitor, cook, and odd job go-to person. The captain's name is Katrina, and her second-in-command / enforcer is Wolfgang. The pilot is called Hero, and the doctor is Joanna. And the tech guy's name is Paul, and the AI is called Ian. He's a bit of a character in and of himself. I love sassy, funny, snarky, honest AIs, and he's pretty great throughout the whole thing. It's really fascinating to see these characters' interactions versus what they think to only themselves, or who they tend to trust and share things with. Because, believe me, all is not hunky-dory on the ship and amongst these people, and there's more lying in wait to be discovered than any of them wants to let on to each other. So throughout the story, we're given these little glimpses and flashbacks into each character's past, what led them to clone themselves, and how they ended up on the Dormier. And now this is actually a pet peeve of mine usually in books like this. Sometimes excessive flashbacks, when used to give the reader the information they need, feels like inorganic exposition that amounts to lazy writing. However, with this, I actually quite enjoyed it. Each new story or piece of someone's past brought to light is told usually when the other characters are finding out about something just as we are, and for good reason. It's all relevant to the story and the way in which the story is told. And sometimes we're even privy to information that the character themselves don't know or don't realize, which is really interesting because mind maps and memories can be tricky things. They can be hacked, and there can be repercussions of that hacking. There's just a lot of cool ideas in this. I did feel that some of the cloning laws and the issues surrounding clones that we learn about through flashbacks, like how they developed on Earth and whatnot, are a little too overtly dramatic and over the top at times, but it's a set of events, instances, and laws that really inform how the story is told, who these characters are as people, why they are the way they are, and how they interact with each other. It's really great to see this mystery unfold piece by piece, all the while unsure, just as the characters are unsure of what actually happened, even up until like the last fourth of the book. It's kept up in the air throughout most of it, though we're given little hints and clues as to how things connect all the time. It's one of those books that I feel could really benefit from a second reading to kind of like pick up on all the things I may have missed that eventually led to a really very satisfying conclusion. Mur Lafferty just did a great job with this, with her characters, her setup, the mystery, all of the different links that must be put together, and with writing a story that was both really intense at times and also funny at times too. She just did a great job balancing everything she took on and made a solid murder mystery that couldn't have existed within any other setup. I love when a book really has a reason for being what it is, and this has a reason for being science fiction and featuring the themes that it does. I have loved to have seen this go even more in depth into each character, into this future where cloning is commonplace, but the bits we get of everything really work and make for an entertaining and enjoyable read. Like I said, this was really fun, and I read it in just a couple sittings. I highly recommend it to anyone who loves science fiction thrillers, murder mysteries, and just well dramatized characters and character interactions, especially in space. And if you've read this, or if you want to read it, or if you've read anything else like this, I would love to know in the comments. Thanks guys so much for watching, and I will see you later with more.